Hello, hello. My name is Kate Groenhagen, the Vice President of Business Development here at orthobrain, and I am so very excited to kick off this new program. As many of you know, I have some amazing women here that I'm going to introduce in just a second. But orthobrain is a company who's centered on growth, growing orthodontic access, growing dental practices and DSOs, growing clinical confidence and education systems, and of course, growing people through professional development. And in order to grow, we all need a little knowledge, a little perspective, support, and sometimes encouragement. So today marks our first ever installment of the Orthobrain Empowerment Series. In this series, I will host authentic and informative open conversations that will hopefully empower doctors and dental professionals to excel in this industry. A huge part of our goal here is to make sure that we are empowering, lifting up our female dental professionals. And that is going to be a large focus on tonight's discussion. With that being said, I'd like to invite everyone from our panelists to those of you watching at home on the live stream to grab a drink, settle in, and we will dive into our discussion topics and toast to all of the opportunities and future successes of 2022. Audience, please feel free to send in your comments, questions, messages on whatever platform you're joining us from, and we'll address them. I will give a very, very brief introduction to each of our panelists here, as I know our audience will learn a lot about you and your practices as we move through our discussion. So to start us off, we have Dr. Laura Lawrence, a general dentist practicing in Ohio. Dr. Carolyn Lubrano, a board-certified pediatric dentist practicing in Massachusetts. And Dr. Lauren Dahl, a general dentist practicing in Ohio. So thank you all for joining me today and participating in this. Panelists, thank you so much for sharing your time with me this evening. I know how hectic our schedules can be and how valuable our time is. So I'd like to raise a glass to you all and a prosperous and exciting 2022. Cheers.
Cheers.
So let's hop in. I mentioned earlier that you will see a focus on empowering our female dentists. I'd like to start off our discussion by sharing a few statistics and kind of setting the landscape, if you will, for where we are and where we're going. According to the ADA Health Policy Institute analysis published last year, 34.5% of dentists in the U.S. are female as of 2020, compared to just 24.1% in 2010. It's a 10% increase, ladies. Great job. Exactly. Yes. Give yourself a round of applause. And 50.6% of new dental grads are female as of 2019, compared to just 46% in 2009. I think we all already know this. The future is female. The dental industry is reflecting that uptick in representation. So again, congrats and great job. With this, we want to make a concerted effort to support all of these strong, capable, complex female dentists. And at orthobrain, we put an emphasis on building and nurturing a team of strong female leaders too. We take advantage of memberships, courses, tools to help empower our team to stay true to this initiative. One example is Women in DSO organization, for which orthobrain happens to be a founding industry partner with them. Their mission is to highlight and support contributions of women and dental support organizations by creating a platform to grow and empower women leaders within those DSOs. So in light of sharing helpful resources, let's hop into our discussion. Are there any clubs, organizations, courses, or anything of the sort that have helped any of you advance professionally, either in the dental world or just as a business owner and stakeholder? Does anyone have any they want to share?
Doesn't look like my mic is on. Can you hear me?
Yep, we can hear you.
All right. So for me, it's been a lot of just networking, and during being part of like the ADA, I'm part of the Dayton Dental Society, and just making those connections, because you never know who you're gonna meet and what like advice they have for you, because everybody's kind of going through a lot of the same things. But the thing I think that we get caught up in a lot in dentistry is because we're often in practice kind of by ourselves or maybe with one other dentist, that you kind of tend to think that the world is just, we're a little bubble. And so many people are going through those same things, whether like you have a bad day because all your patients come in just like complaining and whining, and it just makes your day awful. And then you realize, like, you start talking to other dentists, like, nope, it's not just me. Everybody had a bad day. And but you never know like what piece of advice that somebody else is going to give you, like somebody else is having insurance issues, whatever it is. It's been so helpful to me just to have like that network and to be able to like reach out and say, what else, who else is having these issues? What can I do?
I think that's great advice. Dr. Lawrence, Dr. Lubrano, are there any other organizations that you would recommend? Courses, podcasts? It can be anything.
Yeah. Dr. Lubrano, did you have something?
Yeah, I was just going to say, so I'm pretty active in my local group here. There's a local group of orthodontists, pediatric dentists that get together pretty much maybe twice a year to review all the things that you just said, Dr. Lauren. So, and a lot of us are moms, so we kind of connect with that too.
Sounds like a phenomenal network. Dr. Lawrence, what about you?
Yes, absolutely. So locally, I'm part of a SPEAR study club, which is a small group of dentists. We have different specialists and GPs in there as well. We're all different ages and have different backgrounds. And so it's really, really great to come together to learn, to see what's out there. We even have presentations usually by one of the lab techs in the area, where he comes in and explains parts and pieces and hands them around to us so we can better understand what things look like and how they're used. And then as far as courses, I would say the most impactful course I took was from an area called the Breathe Institute, which is in Los Angeles, and they do online courses and seminars as well as in person. And I just found it very moving, where they helped me understand how form follows function in so many different ways that are related in the dental field and as well as patient wellness overall. So they have ENTs, oral surgeons, pediatric dentists, GPs, and everything from speech pathologists to physical therapists and such. So you can really understand how the other specialties too and other professionals, not just dental, all come together to work with the oral cavity.
That's wonderful advice. And I think to be able to have that continuing education and also be able to look at the patient as a whole is probably extremely beneficial within your practice.
Yeah, you look at patients in a different light. You look sort of beyond the head and neck and try to understand them as a whole person.
I think that's great philosophy. Did anyone else have anything they wanted to add to that?
If anybody's looking for a great podcast because we have more time to kill, the dental guys. The dental guys have some great, like they go through just a host of different topics, products. They're just great, great advice and just wonderful. So if anybody's looking for a podcast,
Yeah,
I second that.
There's also
Yeah, I listen to them too.
podcast that is really good, Mommy Dentists in Business. So this, I don't know if anyone's aware of that, but that's a really excellent source for everything, from questions about how you're doing as a mom, questions about your kid's diaper rash, questions about, how to hire the best front desk, what to look for in a biller. That's been a really great resource for me, especially as I was building my startup.
That's amazing. So the dental guys and what was it again, Dr. Lubrano? The Mommy
Dentists in Business.
Mommy Dentists in Business. It sounds like an extremely informative podcast. So everyone make sure you're checking those out as well. And thank you three for sharing those. I'd like to learn a little bit more about the why and the passion behind what you do. So can each of you share your dental origin story and how you decided to choose your specialty? Dr. Lubrano, can I pick on you to start?
Yeah. Well, so how I got started, I think, as an undergrad, I was kind of researching where I wanted to do, what I wanted to go. And I had actually thought about doing medicine. And that's where I really wanted to be. And then I shadowed, I did all the things that we all do. And I realized that's probably not what I want to do. I don't want to live by a pager, and I want to be able to grow a family. So, I interned with my dentist. He actually said it as a joke, like, why don't you come here for a day? So I did. And I was like, well, I could do this. This doesn't look that bad. I think I like it. I like the hours. I like the fact that, you're your own boss. You're really autonomous, which was a big, big, advantage in my eyes. Um, and then I wasn't sure about pediatrics. In fact, I had applied to OS and I matched, and I said, you know what? I don't think I want to do this. So I don't know. It was, I think, very male dominated at the time when I was going through my pre-doctoral years. So I did GP for a year, and I did a GPR with Lutheran, and everybody kept saying, you know what, you should try pedo. I think you'd be good at pedo. And I really love kids. I've always loved kids. I've always babysat and been entertained by them. And I feel like for me, it worked out. I think I had a lot of good mentors who really cultivated my strong suits and told me, this would be good for you. You should try this. And so I tried it and I liked it and I still love it. And I literally think I could do it all day and not be tired. I've been going like since 4 a.m. today and I'm not even tired. Like I feel like I could keep going. And I think, it took a while for me to realize that dentistry, it's not an everything type of thing. You need to find a balance. And so because I can find that balance in my work, with it being a business and then the science, I've found a way to kind of be comfortable with that.
Great story. Now I'm gonna have a follow-up question for you on that. You said you had some great mentors. How did you find them? So for the other doctors who are just getting started out there, if they're searching for a mentor, do you have any advice or any tips on how you found yours?
I mean, one of my strongest mentors was a music teacher. So she wasn't even not a dentist, but she really showed me how to present. And I feel like even with pedo, I feel like a lot of what I do with my behavior management comes from my interest and background in music and theater, and how she kind of really helped me with my craft there. And so I've used that to kind of translate it into, how I am and how I manage the kids from day to day. And it can be anyone can be your mentor. My mom is my mentor. My dentist, who kind of encouraged me to go into this field, he's still someone I text here and there and ask, like, what should I do, or what would you do? And it's just about taking advantage of the people that are around you, and like someone else said, just that network, growing your network as much as you can, so that you don't feel like you're in this little box, which is what dentistry can sometimes do.
Yeah. Great feedback. Thank you very much for sharing your story and your experience. Dr. Dahl, do you want to share your why and your passion behind and your origin and how you chose your specialty?
Yeah, so for me, dentistry is something that I've grown up with. My mom's a dentist, and since the earliest time that I can remember, dentistry is all that I've wanted to do. So probably from about the age of 5, that's what I wanted. That was the end goal. And so that was pretty much what ordered my whole schooling. So I went to dental school. And then after that, for a lot of the same reasons that Dr. Carolyn talked about, of why I wanted to do it. It was great hours. I could raise a family. I could be a mom. I could be autonomous. So just a lot of those same reasons. So I went to dental school. My mom's a GP, so I didn't really, I liked some of the specialties, didn't know that I really wanted to. I was also have been my mom's retirement plan since forever. Um, Although ironically, I didn't buy into her practice. I took a little bit of a sidestep. I had the Air Force pay for dental school and spent 4 years with the Air Force after that, and that was a really cool experience. It was a great time that I could have some mentorship from other people, have specialists around, have all kinds of other. You can walk into another office and just there's two dentists sitting right there and go, I don't know what to do. Please help me. And so that was great. I loved that. And so now I got out this summer and bought in with my uncle actually, who's also a dentist, and then I work for my mom 1 day a week. So it's been really cool, and I love it. I love the patients. Yeah, you have patients that make your days go horribly that I talked about earlier, but you also have the patients that are just so sweet and are wonderful, and that's I love people. So I get to connect with people. I get to help take care of people, and have fun on the side.
That's a great story, and it sounds like it has been in your blood, and you were destined for this. So thank you very much for sharing that. Dr. Lawrence, how about you?
Yeah, so I'm also from a dental family and went to preschool right next door to our family practice. And so even from the time that I was very young, I remember going over to the office and putting gloves on and letting patients let me look in there and see what's going on, and um, work there throughout high school, cleaning instruments. So it's always been my comfort zone and something where I felt that the community has always been really energetic and attracted people that had a lot of life energy and a lot of drive to continue to make the field better and exciting and fun. And there were always conferences to go to that I went to as a child and young adult throughout college, grad school, and eventually dental school. And throughout the process, because I had grown up in only dental, I really felt like I wasn't exposed to much else and knew that it was a great field, and sort of tried a different path to see if maybe a different avenue was really what my passion in life was, that my career should be. So I deferred dental school for 3 years and was a research scientist. And so I traveled our planet to see some of the most remote areas that we have to offer and saw some incredible things, had some of the most memorable moments of my life, and really loved what I was doing, but missed out on that interaction of being around a lot of people all the time, having that energy to feed off of, and spending late nights in the lab was really fun when I was in my lower 20s. But when I realized that it was difficult to be around my family and missing the big moments in life, like birthdays and birth of my first niece, and the difficulty in creating my own family. So similar to Dr. Lubrano, I knew that this was something I wanted, was to be able to be present for my own future family. I made the jump back to the dental world, and here I am. And yeah, I went to dental school where I met my husband and went through a GPR residency. Kind of loved everything. And with general, I felt like I could explore and sort of um, put my hands into all the different things to see what I truly loved practicing. And here I am today practicing in Cleveland.
Perfect. Thank you for sharing your story. And you and I have talked at length about some of your adventures. And I just think it's so great that you did that, to explore and double check that dentistry was the right path for you. So what a great confirmation after doing all of that to say, okay, this is where I belong. This is my home.
Absolutely. Yeah. So you don't have to be a straight arrow to become a dentist, for sure.
Exactly. Now that might lead us right into our next question. What are some obstacles that you've overcome as a female dental professional? And what advice do you all have for new female dental grads?
So I would say one of the hardest things that I've come across is feeling like an apprentice working with a senior doctor. So senior doctors are so knowledgeable. Their patients have so much trust and so much love there. And to watch them kind of walk with ease around the office when we're still getting our feet wet and trying to figure out how to make our system seamless and how we can come into the room and do that same type of exam and gain that same confidence, it's really easy to feel like an apprentice and not a treating doctor in the office. Um, but I would say the one thing that really helped me feel more confident is finding something that I found to be interesting and becoming the office expert on it. So I found something, really dove in deep. And so if that ever comes up, everyone knows to come to me for it. And it sort of put me at a level of, oh, well, that would be under Dr. Laura's umbrella, not Dr. X. So then that gave me the confidence and gave some of the staff the confidence as well to support me in becoming the person to go to.
Great advice. And can I ask, what area did you choose to be the expert in?
Yes, kind of a unique area. So I decided to really explore preventative dentistry and how to restore teeth and prevent them from getting carious lesions, so getting cavities. So if there it would be an area that is becoming incipient, if it's soft tooth that hasn't quite become a cavity yet, the different products that we offer and looking into the research to say, hey, what's best for the patient and what can we offer depending on what their habits are.
Wonderful. Thank you. Dr. Lubrano, do you
Yeah.
have any obstacles you'd like to share that you've overcome or any advice for new female
Yeah.
dental grads?
Yeah, well, as the other doctor's talking, I'm thinking, okay, this is just like when my first job out of residency, my husband and I lived in Madison, Wisconsin while he was getting his doctoral. And I was working in a practice in Janesville. And I remember thinking, I felt so uncomfortable as the newbie because I had finished my residency, and at that point, I felt so energetic. I felt like I wanted to take over the office. Like I could see all the kids and I could do all the procedures. And the senior dentist, there were four of us, and I was the newest and also the youngest. So when I finished residency, I was 28. And at that time, when I went for my board certification, I was one of the youngest in the country to have a board certification. And I felt like I knew everything, but I really knew nothing because I had no hands on. And similarly, I said, you know what? I'm just going to dive into CEUs. I'm just going to take every continuing education class I can find in all the places that I want to go, like San Francisco, Hawaii. I'm going to try to go to Florida and Alaska. So I was taking like all these random courses. And so I said, yeah, I'm going to get into something that nobody out here is doing. I'm going to do lasers. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to get all into tongue ties and lip ties, and I'm going to just blow everybody away. And so nobody was interested in the lasers. And I was thinking, oh my God, this is so sad. Like, I feel like this is so important, like at that point I didn't have any children, but I was so passionate about breastfeeding and just how important it was because I had at that point too, I had a master's in public health. And so I was so, if moms can't breastfeed and babies aren't eating. And so anyways, nobody was interested. But anyways, that kind of prompted me to say, I want to do my own thing. I want to do my own thing because there were, I think as a younger female, especially like looking, everybody looks so young. I think it's hard and you have to work a little harder to gain that respect. And you have a lot to prove as a new doctor and even more because you're a female. So just knowing your stuff is so important. Being really, taking your continuing eds, making sure you're up to date on everything. And then not being afraid to kind of go outside the line a little bit because who cares? Like it's what you make of it. You have to kind of make it worth it for you too.
I think that's phenomenal advice. Thank you very much for sharing. Excuse me for sharing that. Dr. Dull, how about you? Do you have any obstacles you've overcome or any advice you'd like to share?
I think I just like kind of to piggyback off of Dr. Laura and Dr. Carolyn, and just being open to learning as much as you can, especially as a new doc. There's so much to learn out there. When you graduate dental school, at least for me, I felt like I knew just enough to get myself into trouble, because you've only done procedures like a handful of times, and they say you have to do something like 5,000 times to be like truly confident. And so in just picking people's brains and asking what they do and how they do it, and just being open to failure sometimes, because expecting that you're going to be perfect when you're starting out is unrealistic. And just being open again to asking everybody, being open to being wrong sometimes, and just learning.
Great. Thank you. So to recap that, the few things I heard out of there are continuing education, know your stuff, make sure that you guys are all spending that time to learn, to educate yourselves so that you can be the expert, find your own little area that can be just yours. And you do have to prove it. You have to work a little bit harder as a woman. I think all of us know that already, but sometimes we do need to be reminded of it. So thank you all for sharing your advice and tips for everybody. Now shifting to a little bit more of a clinical focus, we've seen attention turn toward airway health and airway orthodontics over the last few years. How does this factor into your treatment philosophy, and what role does it play in orthodontics? Dr. Lawrence, do you want to start with this one?
Sure. So, sort of going back to my comment earlier about learning how form follows function, really learning to understand how it's something as simple as our fascia in our mouth. So, back to simple anatomy, basic anatomy, how something like that can affect the way that our jaws and mouths grow and develop, the muscles, the bones, hard and soft tissue. So, understanding where something could stem from and how we can grow and create a proper airway for someone starting as a child. So, really looking at these children that are coming into the practice, which I'm sure Dr. Lubrano learned all about through her dive into tongue and lip ties, which we also call tethered oral tissues in the dental world. And looking for cues on how these children are having issues that could relate to airway problems in the future. So being able to have the form of our general anatomy follow the function. And as far as orthodontics go, it's related to having a tight musculature in the mouth, like such as the tongue, that can help prevent having your palate grow, so the upper arch. So it's really important for that intermolar width, so between those big molars in the back, for them to be the right distance. So we've related those things to airway volume. And so understanding that, how we can catch it in young patients, so that we can help them develop properly into healthy, functioning adults. And sometimes we have adults that come into our practice that didn't have that opportunity. They weren't evaluated when they were young, and to look for those signs. So sometimes the patients don't know how to tell you, and sometimes they don't know, but we have to look for signs and symptoms from our patients, beyond the oral cavity. So looking at their eyes, looking at their posture, that type of thing, how they speak, their attitude. So I think that it all is very, very important for us.
Great, thank you. Dr. Lubrano, do you have any input on that, or Dr. Dahl, in regards to airway health and airway orthodontics?
So airway orthodontics it's funny because I think when I was a resident in my pediatric dental residency, I think I had maybe one lecture on airway with the med students, and it was super brief. And I wasn't interested in it. I was like, okay, we're gonna sedate and we're gonna do this pulp SSC, and that's what I'm here to do. And early with my first daughter, when I had my own personal struggles with breastfeeding and, going to lactation and this and that. And I said, and she went undiagnosed until she was about 2. And I said, she's not sleeping right, you know? And I knew it was her airway. I knew it was airway. So we ran through all of the protocol for getting a sleep study and doing, assessments and going back for reassessments. And I said, you know what? I'm going to start studying it. And I started collaborating with our pediatrician, and kind of creating my own network of speech language therapists, lactation consultants, body workers, and seeing how I could treat kids, because I have a very unique opportunity to treat them very early. I get referrals for infants, days old, sometimes 2-3 days old. And so a lot of it is education. So we have an educator that's in the office when we have these appointments, and they go through, X, Y, and Z. And it's just been, for me in my practice, really just changed my entire direction. So I'm not interested in doing those POPAs this season anymore. Now I just want to do airway. So, the laser clinic that I'm doing, and then the orthodontics with mixed dentition, but even earlier. So I started treating my middle one when she was 4.5, with you guys. Actually started helping me treat her because I didn't want to go through the surgery. We did speech language therapy, myofunctional therapy. I did the expanders. She's changed. Her sleep has improved. So I'm a big believer. And, I share that story with you because I think, for me anyways, as a provider, I like to be able to say, in certain cases, this is why I do this. This is why it works. And it's something that's so often missed, with pediatricians, that it's a little alarming. So all 3 of my kids were all tongue-tied, and with different, therapies and later on with expansion and things like that, they'll be somewhat corrected. But it's interesting now that dentists are sometimes the first provider that parents see that say, there's a problem here. We need to look into that. So, we have a really unique opportunity, I think, as really being looked at as an integral part of not just pediatric health, but I say that because I'm a pediatric dentist, but, adults too. My husband's next. He's the one, he's probably going to need it more than anybody.
No, I think that's great. And you're exactly right. It is a very unique opportunity to educate so many people out there, so many patients, so many parents. I know I have a 1-year-old. So as a new mom, I was constantly thinking, oh my gosh, do I need to take my son to go see if there is a lip tie or a tongue tie? Like, what's going on? He's not sleeping or eating or whatever it might be. So I think it's wonderful that you've created that network, as you said, with your pediatrician that you have for your children and some other people within the community. I think it's super important to diagnose the airway and airway health and really put a large focus on it with orthodontics as well. Dr. Dahl, do you have anything you'd like to add before I go into a couple more questions around it?
I'll just piggyback off of it. You really can change people's lives. I mean, not only, just by improving just general health, but like you can change like ADHD, if they're getting enough, if they're getting more air, you can change, people can be diabetic, and there's so many things that we can really improve and have that opportunity to change their life by improving their airway quality. It's not just their mouth. And physicians don't really know anything about the mouth. They know that teeth are white and gums are pink, and they don't know. So it's kind of, I think it's becoming much more well talked about in the dental industry, but it's something that I think still needs to go farther, because again, as Dr. Katelind said, we didn't really have anything about it in dental school or in my residency, but it's starting to become a lot more talked about.
That's great. It's great that it's getting the attention it deserves. And I hesitate as I say this, becoming more mainstream, but it's not there yet. It's not where it needs to be, but I'm happy to hear that there is some progress, and it sounds like the three of you are doing a great job in progressing that forward. Now, without sounding too ridiculous, because I know some of the very basic responses and answers to this next one, but in relation to what we just discussed, how does treating the patient's malocclusion in-house benefit the practice, and possibly more importantly, and let's be honest, you're a bunch of women, so you're all very nurturing and caring people, possibly more importantly, the patient? Dr. Laura, I saw you nodding your head. Do you want to start on that first with what are the benefits of keeping, treating that malocclusion in-house?
Sure. Something that I see very commonly is that patients sort of separate things that they consider to be aesthetic. Let's see, can you hear me?
I can hear you. Yes.
Okay. So sometimes patients don't understand the difference between something that they consider to be aesthetic versus what we still consider to be a medical biological treatment. So for us, a patient may be seeing us and may or may not talk about wanting to treat a malocclusion and seeing a different specialist to get treated, and there's no transfer over of information from the patient's perspective in regards to gum health, planned restorative, that type of thing. So that is something that I do have patients currently that are being treated by orthodontists that are undergoing certain treatments that are now going to have to be altered because restorative treatment is needed. And the other thing as well is always, always, always periodontics. The gums are so important. They are our foundation for our mouth, and they have to be healthy, and they have to be stable before we can do these things with tooth movement. So I truly believe that that we are the best providers to treat a malocclusion because we understand the entire treatment sequence of what's happening. So there's no misinformation because we have all of it right there. So I do think that they're best with us. We're quick to pick up a periodontal probe. We're quick to have the x-rays. So we best understand how to sequence a patient's treatment.
Great. Thank you very much for sharing. Dr. Dahl, can you add any additional light onto that?
Everything Laura said, but also patients, they gain our trust. And they oftentimes, if you're then referring them out somewhere, they'll trust the provider that you refer them to, but they're much happier to stay in-house often, if possible, because that's where they're comfortable. So to me, that's a huge benefit. It also obviously, does generate income, and that's always nice. And then you just gain greater furthers your skills in terms of you get then people referring. They may say to their family and friends, hey, guess what? By treating my issues with my airway and improving my smile looks great, all these things, you get referrals that way. So all of that.
No, I think it's great feedback. And you bring up a really great point. The patients trust you. They know you. They're already there. And oftentimes we hear that if you do refer them out to someone else, a lot of times they end up not making it there because it's a whole nother appointment. It's a whole nother office that they have to deal with. And if it already took them a little bit of time and effort and goal, if you will, to come to see you, it's just another barrier for them to get the care they need. So you bring up a really great point. Dr. Lubrano.
Yeah.
I don't know if you can hear us.
I can hear you. I'm back.
Perfect.
I heard a little bit of
question
that.
was,
I heard a little bit of that. I definitely think it's almost, I don't want to say comical, but recall after recall. Okay, mom, did you take Jamie to go see Dr. George? Oh, I can't find that paper you gave me, or we forgot, or yeah, it's true. It's true.
you guys, my mic was off. I'm sorry. You guys got all of that, right?
All of it. Mhm.
Perfect. So what I was saying to myself was that we're seeing a huge digital revolution in the dental industry, scanners, records, teledentistry, you name it. What impact does this have in the practice in regards to efficiency and workflow? What have you guys seen in your experience?
We've seen faster turnaround times in our chair. So when we use an intraoral scanner, we're able to have the patient seated, wheel the scanner in, take the scan, wheel the scanner out, and the patient's done. Versus in the past, we would have impression material set up ahead of time. Patient come in, take the impression, maybe take another if needed, clean the patient up, take the impression material to the lab, sterilize it, pour it up, and then clean up the room and clean up all of our little spatulas and things. So the process was a lot more time consuming and labor intensive. So patients really like to not have the material on them, especially if they're coming over their lunch break to see us and they're in professional attire. So it's been beneficial for everyone.
Wonderful. Dr. Lubrano, Dr. Dahl, do you guys have anything additional to add on our new digital world?
So I bought a practice that was pretty old school. So I'm kind of working on adding that stuff. So when I was in the Air Force, we had some of all the new technology and loved it. It is definitely can make life a lot easier, a lot quicker, a lot faster. But currently for me, it's just trying to find the right balance, because jumping in straight away, going from completely, in one practice that I'm in, we don't even do digital x-rays. So it's just a different, and there's some things that definitely I think do make things a lot easier, and some things that I'm not sure that sometimes there's a cost benefit in terms of all the technology, but it definitely, some of it is really cool and I love it. It's just a matter of, for me, it's just, I'm not in my own practice adding it currently.
It's a progression, baby steps, right? Dr. Lubrano?
Yeah, my assistant. So we integrated with a scanner back. It's only been about a year and a half, I think, since I had one. And my assistant's like, wow, we have so much less crying now. I said, yes. It's patients are more compliant with it. It's literally just a wand, and I'm just putting it over their teeth. Parents are wowed by it, so there's that element. But actually, I think like what's come out of COVID, and I'm still utilizing, is the telehealth. And for me, because I get a lot of emergencies, like I have a wiggly tooth. What do I do? And I said, okay, take a picture and then send an email, and I'll look at it, and then I'll let you know, if it's something that you need to come in for. So it's, it costs me nothing. I don't charge for it. I just ask them to send me a picture, and parents are so relieved, or they'll say something like, I think he lost his elastic. Okay, take a picture, send it to me, and I'll let you know. So it's super quick for me. I do it right on my phone. All right, the elastic's there, or just keep wiggling it and it'll come right out. This is normal. So that's been like really good for me.
That is great.
That is
and
great. And
such a practice builder to be able to have those conversations, those relationships, and you're just ingraining yourself even more with those patients and their parents because you're there when they need you, and especially being a pediatric dentist. So I think it's phenomenal to stick with that in the post-COVID or still COVID world that we're in. In what ways do you find being a woman benefits your practice and your patients? Dr. Dahl, do you want to start with this one?
I think in some ways we are more empathetic. So we can better understand. I'm sure that all of you can relate that, we're not just the dentist chair sometimes. Sometimes patients come down and you get to hear their whole host of problems and things that you're like, I don't know that I would ever tell somebody that, but okay. And then, so you kind of have to sort through not only their dental issues, but life problems. And so I think just, I definitely feel like I'm a little more, again, empathetic and prepared to, handle that and help them just kind of work through some of their outside struggles and to get them back to, okay, well, let's fix what we can today. I can take care of your dental problems, but not about the life problems. But so in that way, I do think being a woman is definitely more beneficial to my patients in that regard.
Great. I would agree with that. Dr. Lawrence, Dr. Lubrano?
Yeah, absolutely. Something that Dr. Lauren touched on as well is patients seem to be very comfortable and feel that they can open up to me in the office where it's a different perspective. So the senior doctor in our office is a male provider. And sometimes if they come see me, it's almost like my exams take twice as long because people really feel that they need to share whatever it is that's emotionally going on in their lives, which past couple of years has been pretty deep, pretty intense for some people. The other thing too is we word things a little bit differently. Everyone does, but females sometimes with empathy and different things, our perspectives are a little bit different, and so the way that we word things and explain things is a little different as well. And then also the gentle touch. That's something that I get a lot. Is I'm not a large person. I have small hands, and being gentle and making patients feel comfortable in creating a nice environment for them where they feel relaxed. So I play music in my operatory, I offer water. We don't rush through things. So I think that it's a different experience for patients.
Those are some great notes and great things to highlight. Thank you. Dr. Lubrano?
Yeah, I mean, everything that was just said, I think that's exactly what I was going to say, Dr. Lauren. That's exactly what I was going to say. That sounds exactly right. And like people come in and say, well, we try to, I never really understood this until I was a provider, I guess. But I do the same thing. I think like my kids all see I didn't realize it, but all my kids see all female providers. And then I said, yeah, I think it's just something about, that sweet spot, that like little bit of nurturing side that tends to come out, because I think, we all treat our patients like, I mean, they're not little kids, but we're over them, and we have nothing preventing us from just putting our hand on them or just kind of being a little bit softer with them. So, or sometimes patients will come because, we tried a male dentist. I don't know what that means, but that didn't work. So so they're here to try a female dentist. So like, okay.
You might want to dig into that one every now and then and see. just for the story.
I'll let you know.
Perfect. Report back. So the last topic that I want to get into, and all of you have shared great bits of advice today, but I'm certain that with these three strong women in front of me who have accomplished a lot, you all have received some great advice in your life. So what is some of the most impactful advice you've received that still resonates with you or possibly even helps shape your outlook?
So the best advice I received was when I was a sophomore in undergrad as a chemistry student, and I started off with an acceptance into dental school. So you can apply out of high school to dental school into programs where you have to maintain a certain GPA, score a certain score on the entrance exam, and then you have a seat in dental school and you can go before you finish undergrad. So I had one of those seats and found a true passion and love for chemistry while I was an undergrad. And I was offered an internship with the National Park Service in Alaska for the summer and really wanted to go and felt like this could be something really incredible. And my chemistry professor, I met with her one-on-one, was like, this is very different than dentistry. What do I do? And she said, Laura, if you're offered a golden egg, you take it. So, not related to dentistry, not really related to science, just in life in general. If you're offered something that's special, you should take it. So, take your opportunities. If you see an avenue, even if you don't have an immediate opportunity, create one for yourself. Create that golden egg. Find something for you. Doesn't matter how dark it seems, find it. There's always one out there for you. So, on my hardest days, I have to remember that there is a golden egg somewhere for me, and I have to find that.
I love that. If you're offered a golden egg, take it. Great. Who else has a piece of advice that's stuck with them throughout the years?
For me, it's one of those that kind of piggybacking a little bit off of what Laura said, Dr. Laura said. Just, kind of going back to, you have so many patients that come in and share life stuff. And, some days, we get in this thing of, I think that I have so many problems in my life. And then you come in and you listen to what patients are going through, and you just remember how blessed you are. And so I think it's really true throughout life, to have that outlook of like, we really are blessed. There's so many good things that are happening for us. We're all obviously, we wouldn't be sitting here if we weren't somewhat successful. So and just remember that, even on our worst days, there's a lot of blessings.
Stay grateful for it. Wonderful. Thank you, Dr. Dull. Dr. Lubrano, I'm certain you've gotten some good advice, probably from your music teacher.
That. How did you know? I actually was going to say, so I go back to it. I think of her often because when I was growing up, so I was in a all-girls school, and there were a lot of that. There was a lot of like the catty, kind of thing. But then there was such camaraderie, and like my best friends are still the girls that we were in chorus together, or, we would do cabarets together. And my music teacher, she wasn't just my music teacher. Like we would have like barbecues together, and like I would take lessons at her house. But there was, the entire time I was in high school, pretty much every assembly, every, wedding we sang at, or funeral, there was this Irish blessing that we would sing. And I don't know, sometimes I just find myself humming it. And I don't even know I'm doing it. I'm just humming it. And I'm not speaking it, or I'll speak it. But the first line is, may the road always rise to meet you, and may the wind be always at your back. And I think about that because, like was just mentioned, dentistry can be, especially right now, it feels kind of dark. It feels kind of heavy. And so I do feel like super blessed that I get to do this every day, and I get to be involved in like these little lives. And I do feel like I'm making an impact. And so, like, even when I feel like it's a hard day, and I've been going like 150 miles an hour, and I go home and I'm like, oh my God, I'm still vibrating. Like, I still feel like I'm vibrating. I just think about that song, and like I think about how lucky I am to actually do this. So that's what I think of.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I absolutely love that. And I can confirm that all of you not only are you making an impact in your everyday practices, and I'm sure in the lives of your family, but today as well. I'm certain all of our viewers have gotten some really great information from you, and anyone who will watch this in the future. I think you gave a lot of great advice, a lot of great tips for future, not only dental professionals, but professionals throughout the world, throughout every industry. So thank you very much to the three of you for being OrthoBrain's first panelists in our Women Empowering Women series. It was really great to have you on tonight and to have this open exchange of ideas, insights, fun stories, and advice. There's so much power in sharing your experience with one another and to our greater audience. So truly, thank you all for participating. Audience, thank you for participating. Thank you for attending. You will see more of these events, but again, panelists, thank you so much for your time, your energy, your effort. Have a great night, everyone. Stay tuned for our next event, and cheers.
Cheers.
Thank you, Kate.
Thank you.